Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of In the School Parking Lot. I'm your host, I'm Paul Everett. You can reach me at my email address, and I wish you would. It's BAND, the number 2, gather, band together, Comcast.net. Or go ahead check out our website, which is conductingmylife.com, where you can see I'm a speaker, trainer, coach, author. There you go, author of Conducting My Life. It's a good book. I'm part of the Maxwell team. John Maxwell is an award-winning New York Times best-selling author. Great material about leadership, both secular and sacred. John Maxwell is Pastor Maxwell as well, so I can do some really cool things for you and your church. Hope you give us a call and let us come in and make a difference, all right? Our philosophy is better people make better leaders. We're all attempting to be better. So that's it, not perfect, better. I'm doing this on the 13th of June. However, I'm posting it on June 29th. This is episode 17 of In the School Parking Lot. Rough one. This is rough. I'm giving you a heads up. You won't believe why this public school teacher was fired. This is from Madeline Leesman, Leesman. As always, we have the articles in the description. This is June 10th, 2024, and again, it's rough. Being a teacher since 1989, I've not seen a story like this before, and I'm sure there's a lot of them. I've just missed it. Part of the idea is to give stories of you to people that care about education, public education, charter or private. You won't believe why this public school teacher was fired. A public school teacher in New Hampshire was fired for secretly taking a student to obtain an abortion during school hours. Reportedly, the situation was referenced by New Hampshire Department of Education Commissioner Frank Edelblut, Edelblut, in an op-ed in April. In the op-ed, he wrote, quote, "How should the department respond when, allegedly, an educator lies by calling in sick so they can take a student without parental knowledge?" This is this is not California. This is New Hampshire. I live in California, Roseville, California. Without parental knowledge, to get an abortion. He asks Frank Edelblut, should we turn a blind eye? According to the investigation by the department, the teacher involved said that they had food poisoning and called out work sick, so they lied. That day, the teacher, quote, escorted a current student to a medical appointment during school day hours, end of quote. The teacher was placed on paid administrative leave, the investigative reporter said. When questioned, the teacher confirmed that they called in sick, though they did not have food poisoning. The teacher confirmed that they drove the student to the medical appointment and that they were conversing with the student over 2 weeks about the appointment without parental knowledge. This angers me. Quote, the teacher told the student to determine how far along they were. They? How about she? The teacher told the student to determine how far along she was, that's my edit, and assisted her so that the student knew what options she'd, not they'd, she'd have available. The teacher also reported that every time it says they, I'm going to let you know, it's she. The teacher also reported that they found the facility, they could be this teacher, I'm sorry. The teacher also reported that the teacher, found this facility for the student to have the medical procedure, the abortion, so that they knew it was a safe facility. The teacher stated that the student didn't have anyone to support them, so they offered to go with them, with her. the report said. When's enough, All you pro-abortion people, when is this too far? Is this too far? Is it too far? I don't know. You people that are pro-abortion, I'm hoping that we can find this is too far. To have a teacher take their student, and even with the article not saying she and her, referring to the student. What's that about? Anyway, the United States, we're in a bad direction. We're going down south. We need help right now. We need a third grade awakening. And I know that's Christian-y to you people out there, Christian-y, but we need an awakening. For me, as a true believer in Jesus Christ, yeah, third grade awakening will be great to see happen. But to think that this is now the role of the teacher, to take a student without parental knowledge or consent even, forget the consent, without parental knowledge. I mean, I've gone over, usually I don't go this long on an article, but this article from June 10th, 2024, I've never seen it before. I've taught since 1989. That doesn't mean it hasn't happened. I'm sure it's happened. Too many times. Because this is not what teachers are supposed to be doing. I'm sorry, you and I are going to disagree on that. Teachers are supposed to teach math, reading, history, science, art, PE. Not take a student during school time without parents knowing to get an abortion. In this medical procedure thing, call it an abortion because that's what you did. Okay, I got about 4 minutes. The reading conspiracy marches on. Quote, Henry Kissinger, intelligence is not all that important in the exercise of power and is often, in point of fact, useless. As America's mushrooming literacy crisis was becoming more and more obvious in the 1960s, the questions were being asked and solutions were being sought. The political class, however, knows of only one way to address problems, and that one way, spend more taxpayer money. In 1965, lawmakers in Washington, D.C. followed the same approach to solving the nation's reading dilemma, and Congress passed the Elementary and Secondary Education Act, ESEA, with its now infamous Title I compensatory education program. Flush with federal tax dollars, the new Title I bureaucracy promptly began showering billions of dollars of government schools across the country. It was supposed to save students who were failing in reading from a life of functional literacy. Instead, as is often the case with government programs, the new federal cash cow was milked by vested interests. The 17,000 school districts on the federal dole indulged in an orgy of spending and hiring, resulting in a bonanza for the educational establishment and its suppliers. On the other hand, despite all the federal funding, the literacy disaster among American children continued to grow. Indeed, within a decade, that's 10 years, information on the results of the scheme was beginning to trickle out in newspapers from coast to coast. The disastrous decline in reading had not improved. In fact, based on SAT scores, the situation was actually in an alarming nosedive. By September the 1st, 1991, for example, a writer from the Boston Globe reported a dip in scores, but even more ominous was a drop in the verbal scores of even the nation's best students. In 1972, College Board data showed that 116,630 students nationwide scored 600 or above on the SAT of the maximum possible score of 800 on the verbal SAT, compared with 74,836 in 1991. So rounding the numbers, we went from 116,000 in 1972 to 74,000 in 1991. Wow. Overall, this year average verbal scores nationally dropped to 422. That's down 2. And the math score to 472. That's also down to 474. That's also down 2. The verbal scores were the lowest in 20 years. The Boston Globe itself described the phenomenon as a prolonged and broad-scale decline unequaled in the United States history. And indeed, it was shocking. The mean verbal score on the SAT went from 467 in 1966 to 424 in 1980. That's a drop of 43 points in less than a decade and a half. Drop in 43 points in less than a decade and a half. There's a lot more to this, but again, I'm looking at the clock. Let's just get to the last paragraph here of the chapter. Here we go. If you want to imbibe the latest thinking of our educators on the literacy learning, the National Council of Teachers of English has created a special Center for Literacy Education. It has a very informative website that tells you how complicated the whole subject of literacy is. Literacy is now so complex that it requires hundreds of doctors of education to figure it out. The Center's latest report, entitled Remodeling Literacy Learning, go search for it, Remodeling Literacy Learning, is a perfect example of what the education establishment has become. According to the authors of this book, this is what it has become. Ready? It's going to blow your mind. An asylum for the educationally insane. An asylum for the educationally insane. Once you accept their mindset, you enter a world of esoteric nonsense that only the inner circle of disciples can understand. To subject perfectly healthy, intelligent children to the teachings of these insanities is a crime. This book is going to be nowhere in a faculty lounge or any college of education. I think it should be, because I think that we should be open to all these thoughts about what's going on with our education system. Otherwise, it just turns out to be a cult, because you can't question it. If you can't question something, then it's a cult. So, Ron Paul, a compelling case that America's public education system must undergo radical change. Thanks for listening and watching. Please, we have a Venmo account. We're a mom and pop store trying to make it on a smaller retirement plan than we thought, because we got early. We got out early. I just couldn't do it anymore. I went to the parking lot like the principal said. Go to the parking lot, and I did. Sorry this went about 2.5 minutes too long, probably 3. Share this. Need your help. Bye.